Oh yeah, y'all know what it is. It's this. It's keep it P this morning, y'all. Let's get all up into it. So it's funny that MSNBC is running an ad asking, "Is it time to abolish the police?" Well, I say yeah, because they ain't nothing but slave patrol anyway. But I want to hear what they have to say. It so roll that beautiful bean footage.
Let me take you back to November 2015, to Camden, New Jersey, a city of 70,000 people, where one evening a disturbed man brandished a knife at customers in a restaurant. He doesn't attack anyone, but he's clearly distressed. As he leaves the restaurant, a group of officers approach and order him to drop the knife. After getting no response, they do something extraordinary. The officers just walk with him for several minutes before eventually disarming and arresting him, all without causing serious injury.
Uh-oh, what's getting stuck? Come on now, give it to me. Hold on.
Now, how do you think that story would have played out in other cities, or even in Camden itself at a different point in time? Have a listen to Thompson, who was chief of Camden County Police at the time of the incident.
There's not a shadow of a doubt in my mind that 6 months prior to that, we would have shot and killed that man. That was a watershed moment for our organization, and that was a moment in time that really signaled to me that the cops got it.
You see, just 3 years before this incident, Camden was ranked the most dangerous city in America. Its murder rate was more than 18 times the national average. To make matters worse, it also led the state of New Jersey in excessive force complaints against police officers. Camden had reached a breaking point. Something had to give. So Camden officials did something pretty drastic. They abolished the police. Well, sort of. In 2013, they actually disbanded the entire Camden Police Department and replaced it with a county force led by Chief Thompson, who you just heard. His ethos, replacing violent policing with unity policing.
We were coming off of what was statistically our most violent, deadliest year in the city. We had 67 murders in 2012. Every new recruit that came through the door, they were told, you will reflect more with and identify yourself more with being a member of the Peace Corps than you will be a Special Forces operator in the military.
So they rebuilt the police department.
Nah, you can't rebuild the slave patrol, fam. Their mission is to rustle and wrangle black people, you know, for the purposes of over-policing and sending a clear message to the black community. So now they finna attempt to tell you, no, we straight, we changed. We ain't really like that. We ain't trying to kill no black peoples. Yeah, right.
Let me take you back to November.
Hold on, why go back
reform
to the
measures, but Memphis body camera mandates, their restrictions on the use of force, their de-escalation policies, none of those reforms were able to save Tyree Nichols' life.
Ain't it so funny that they got all the smoke, if you know, for the killers of Tyree Nichols, and if the officers was white, none of this would be going on. They'd be doing their best attempt to try to cover it up. It says not only city to have success after the slave patrol, man, everybody would have success after abolishing the slave patrol. I think that's well known. But that, you know why? Hey, listen, let me tell y'all something, everybody. You want to know why the dominant society doesn't want to get rid of the police? It's because it's their enforcement. You can't enforce white supremacy without the enforcement arm of white supremacy, and you can't, you know, give it a loudspeaker without the media arm of white supremacy, which is the lamestream media. Like guys like this dude, he know damn well police need to get up out the box, but he ain't gonna say so. There's more.
So the big question we have to ask, no matter how uncomfortable it makes us, no matter how radical it sounds, is it enough to call for police reform, or is it time to abolish the police, and not just going half at Camden, but all the way to fully reimagining what policing
and the white officer involved is at home
should look like? To help answer that
question, they want to do all of this because the black dudes got caught.
Debate. Joining me now, New York Times opinion writer Jenn, who's spoken in favor of strong police reform measures, but doesn't favor abolishing or defunding the entire police.
They always go get the boot-licking black person. Or is it hold on, there's two on this screen. Hold on real quick. I want y'all to be able to see. There's two of them on the screen right now. There's old girl and old girl right there. Hold on, let me hear the nonsense that they're gonna try to spew here real quick.
And Syracuse professor Jenn Jackson, whose research includes black politics and policing. Jenn does advocate abolishing the police. Thank you both for joining me. Jenn, can I start with you? We have seen police departments across the country try to introduce reform efforts, community policing, body cameras, limiting the use of force, limiting bans on chokeholds, for example. But things like body cameras didn't save the lives of Tyre Nichols or George Floyd. Things like banning chokeholds didn't stop Eric Garner from dying in one. So what actually works in your view? What does meaningful reform actually look like?
Well, thank you so much for the question.
Sorry, that was to Jane. I know you've got similar names, but that was to Jane, not Jenn. I'm going to come to you in a second.
Really well, I think it's important to recognize that there's reform, and that's what I like to call reform. There's the putting a black box on Instagram of reform, and that's how I see many of the efforts that we've seen from police departments that I don't think are terribly interested in real reform, especially because they are well aware that the politics of real police reform isn't on their side. For example, we've seen in this case that the police officers who murdered Tyre Nichols were wearing body cameras because they knew that they would not face consequences for their actions. Not only were they wearing body cameras, they shared photographs of his body with their friends and with a female.
So hold on, look at that picture.
And so
just hold on, real quick. Let's go back here while they tried to skip on over that. So hold on, let's blow this up real quick. Let me see if I can get y'all a better view of this real quick. Hold on. So as y'all see right there goes the 5 black officers, and then you got the white officer to the left there. And he's just fired, but the other ones have been fired and charged with murder. If people don't see a problem with that, I don't know what to say. This is exactly, so you need to abolish because obviously reform doesn't work. Duh. Exactly. There's more. Oh, hold on, y'all.
Shared photographs of his body with their friends and with a female acquaintance. And so what I think that we're lacking is the consequences. And I think that comes back to qualified immunity, which means that for public employees, which include police departments, they are often, police officers, they are often not held liable.
Of course they're not.
Because of a Supreme Court edict from the 1960s that essentially argues that unless a prior case has already shown that this is a deprivation of constitutional rights, how are they to know? Now, that could include stealing money. That could include beating a man to death. And we've seen in cases like Tony Timpa or Daniel Shaver, who happened across the country, that this has happened again and again.
So, Jane, a real reform for you would be abolishing or getting rid of qualified immunity. Jenn, I would assume you agree with that, but you want to go further. You say abolish the police. A lot of people have a visceral reaction against that because they worry crime will go up. They worry they'll be less safe without police officers coming when they call 911. How do you respond to those very common concerns?
Yeah, I think this is an important question because it starts with understanding whether or not we believe the issues with police are systemic or individual. We can talk about Camden, but we need to also talk about places like Chicago, right? We know that Chicago, for instance, has a line item in the budget that accounts for people coming forward to say that they've been tortured and abused by police. So how do we think about something like reform in a place where we've already accounted for the fact that police are going to act outside of their jurisdiction and harm people in the community? So for a lot of activists and organizers on the ground, when we talk about abolishing, right, our idea of abolishing police stems from the idea that there has to be different forms of service and care that allow for communities to take care of themselves and not rely on police for the whole host of services that they currently provide. If there's a mental health issue.
You know what? I agree. I think by now everybody knows. Yes. Look. I was just about to say that, Seti. I think everybody knows the police playbook. I think that we should all know by now not to call on them for anything that we can handle ourselves. I mean, maybe that start policing our own community is something that might work. But I feel what she's saying, but they always got to have the opposing opinion. Hold on.
In the community, like what happened with Quintonio LeGrier. Maybe not calling the police, but calling some people who are actually, trained and have the expertise to address that issue and will not escalate the situation by introducing violence and guns. Another thing that we talk about with abolishing the police is that what we're not saying is get rid of order, right? What people don't realize is that a lot of folks, especially marginalized folks, Black and brown folks, poor folks, immigrant folks, and queer folks, don't call the police as it stands. A lot of folks are afraid of calling the police because of those experiences.
And they should be.
Of having very simple disagreements, traffic violations, escalate to a point of murder. So when folks exhibit this kind of fear and anxiety about, who will protect us, you have to remember who is the we and who is the us. A lot of folks don't feel protected by police, and we need to extend our understanding of what police's responsibility is to our communities so that we can understand how to move forward as a citizenship.
Jane, would you disagree with any of that?
I think that I completely agree that there needs to be more available services, but here's what I keep coming back to. We have a simultaneous issue in many marginalized communities of simultaneous over-policing and under-policing. I've lived in a bunch of neighborhoods in DC, and there are a bunch of neighborhoods in DC in which I've lived in which if your car gets stolen and you call someone might come like a couple of weeks from now, but there's always a cop car sitting on your block, just there.
See, this is another thing. If y'all really think about it, Cedric say, we always got to speak up for the whole gumbo pot. That's right. No, we don't. One thing I would say is police don't even actually solve crimes. They show up when the crap is over and take a report. Very rarely do they show up while the crime is in progress, as if they're really even doing anything. I don't know. What you say, Seti? Seti been rocking with me. He said, we just keep focus on black people for once. Yeah, it's always black and brown. You already know what that tactic mean and what type of time they on with that. I'm sick of the black and brown stuff. It's almost over though, y'all.
Not really doing anything. And we've seen as the murder rate has gone up in certain areas, a murder rate that is impacting communities, including trans women of color. There was a woman who was murdered in the neighborhood I used to live in who I knew pretty well. And I just keep thinking about the fact that I know that there was a police car likely 2 blocks away from where this woman was murdered. And so we see in so many communities that we saw in Ferguson that the community was basically used as a wallet for the police department, but that seemed to have very little impact on how crime was being prevented. I think that some people think that police are there to prevent crime, and some people think police are there to act as a deterrent to crime. That's what I think. Going back to your Camden story, one of the other things that Camden police did was massively increase surveillance.
Dude, I'm like, they don't even do that. They don't do anything of the sort. And then they give them all of these exorbitant amount of powers to kill people. That ain't cool. There's a little bit more. Massively
increase the use of CCTV and and just general surveillance of that community, which is deterrence. It is not prevention. It is not getting to know people in your community. It's not the kind of beat cop that you idealize. It is observing a community as you might if you were going into a foreign country. And I think that comes back to the militarization of police. But I also think that when I talk to my neighbors where I was living in Trinidad, DC, or when I talk to folks across the country, they want the police to come when they are called. They want the police to be people that they recognize. They want the police to do what they're supposed to do, which is to prevent crime or to respond to crime. They do not want to feel as if when they call the police, they themselves are being policed, as if, Why were you here? What's going on? Why do we need
that's
to do
exactly
anything?
what happened.
But to just pick on your point, Jane, they do still want to call the police, where Jenn is suggesting there are some communities who don't want to call the police. And it's really, sorry to make it so simple and blunt, this is what it comes down to for a lot of people who aren't following the intricacy of the policy debate. When you say the words, Jenn, abolish the police or defund the police, that is the first visceral response, which is, well, who would I call if I'm in trouble? Even though, as we know, most beat cops don't actually solve crimes in the midst of a crime. So, Jenn, to kind of repeat my question to you earlier, how do you deal with that? Somebody comes to you and says, we can't get rid of the police. I need to be able to call 911. How do you... I agree with you, there shouldn't be all these traffic stops. I agree with you, we need more mental health workers. But we still need a police force to get those murderers and rapists. What do you say to them, Jenn?
First of all, we know who most of the murderers and rapists are. So, maybe if y'all community got on y'all people, I'm saying we wouldn't have to worry about the overflow of your community against the rest of the world, creating all type of havoc. How about that? And said to recognize them, they have to live in your community. Exactly, of course. They always, just like B1, Dr. Muhammad, just like the LAPD, they wouldn't recruited dudes from the South who already had anti-black sentiment to be on their police force. So it's the same thing. And excuse me, y'all. I was my baby is doing a audition for an Oreo commercial this morning. So I was kind of being proud dad and watching and being there while she's doing it online. I'm right here, baby. See, she want to make sure her dad there so she can do a good job. But I ain't gonna hold you. I'm gonna mold you, fold you, and scold you about being on code. And this is the exact reason why the documentary for Slave Patrol is coming out, so y'all can know the origin of these punks. And you can see that ain't no change in the game in the 9th inning, fam. It is what it is for these people. You know what I mean? They're anti-black and inherently anti-black racists. Period. Point blank. End of discussion. And that's that. Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, so look, we got little baby girl on there right now in front of the she in front of the screen right now doing her little thing, what I'm talking about. So I'm trying to see if she get this young Oreo commercial, because my baby's going to places and doing things. She wants to be on TV just like her dad. Anyway, man, I love y'all, man. Oh, my fault if I made a noise. I love y'all, man. Yeah. Oh, Lil Justice. Yeah, Lil Justice is superstar all day long. So let me go ahead, y'all, and make sure she know I'm watching and engaged and paying attention. I'm going to holler back at y'all. I think I'm going to go live at 12 today from the phone. So we'll see what's up. Otherwise, 4 words for you. Love, peace, blessings, and aloha. I'm out the Doha for show how. You already know how. Take these commercials before I go high. Yeasters.
This is Kendra Blackwood for Hot Lava Music TV. First off, let's get this straight. I only want a boss. And I like to see a boss and boss shit. Where can you get boss shit, you ask? Well, dig this player. Boss 3 NT Clothing got that drip for you and your missus. Now first, go follow at Boss 3 NT Clothing on IG to see more real boss shit. And second, please log on to boss3ntclothing.com. That's boss3ntclothing.com.
We need to go out here and say exactly what we want. And we got to say it with our chest. And we kind of start pussyfooting around, and we got to stop being scared to say exactly what we want, what we need. We need that paper. Say it with your chest. Damn all that. We need justice. We need y'all to love us. No. We don't need that paper. We need reparations in the form of a check. Let's stop being afraid to say it.